The Earth is flat.
My reality, my senses tell me that the Earth is flat and stationary.
What are the planets? Planets are just lights. Who told you there were planets to begin with? The same guys that told you the Americans went to space? Those guys? No, they're just lights in the ceiling.
The conference in this clip is not from the 50th century. It's from the New Flat Earth International Conference. It's a modern gathering that almost seemed to ignore centuries of science. People went in a rocket and took a fucking photo out of a window, and here are people debating about the shape of the planet we live on. What's ironic is that even scholars in medieval times understood that the shape of Earth is round. However, while they got the shape right back then, they still thought that the Earth was the center of the universe, aka geocentrism. This anime is exactly about that in nothing other than that. It literally says it in the title, on the movement of the Earth, referencing Copernicus' work on the revolution of the heavenly spheres. It's intellectually stimulating, it's historically rich, and most importantly, and this is something I've never seen in any other show, it has no main character. But let's talk about this later in the video. First, let's start with the plot of this anime. It's the Middle Ages in the Kingdom of P. In exactly the late 50th century. At the time, most people's life were as grim and miserable as a Blue Lock fan watching season 2. Their only hobbies were dueling challenges, dying of the plague, or being tortured. As far as they were concerned, this was all to life. So for them, being exposed to astronomy wasn't as boring as it is now. Meet Raphael, a mega nerd who is expected to continue his studies in religion, also known as theology, the most important subject at the time. But Raphael values reason above all else. His personal philosophy is that rationality equals beauty. That's why he enjoys astronomy as a hobby. Not to be confused with astrology, which was the medieval version of Tinder. Raphael's almost perfect life takes a wild turn when he meets Hubert, a so-called heretic researcher who managed to dodge getting cancelled by publicly recounting his sin, just like an apology video. Hubert is a reasonable man. Threatening to murder a kid? Seems pretty reasonable to me. He notices the skill that Raphael has for astronomy and forces him to help him with his research. And what this research is all about? Heliocentrism, which is the sun being the center and the earth orbiting around it. At that exact moment, Raphael became stunned. Everything clicked in his head. He realized that this could be the forbidden truth of our world. And now it makes sense why Hubert is considered a heretic. According to the church interpretation of the Old Testament, the sun goes around the earth, not the other way around. So as far as the church was concerned, Hubert was saying that the Bible is capping. Now I want you to tell me something and be honest. Where the fuck have you heard of an anime this unique? As someone who doesn't know a ton about the history of astronomy other than the general stuff, everything being shown to me was new. It was like peeling back layers of a mystery I never knew existed. It's one thing to read about Copernicus or Galileo Figaro Magnifico, but watching it unfold in a story with such depth and visual creativity made the scientific discoveries feel so much more personal and profound. It felt like I was discovering the universe right along the characters. And honestly, it's hard to look at the night sky the same way again after that. And while I like to think of this anime as a history lesson about how astronomy played a significant role in la Révolution de Renaissance, baguette et croissant, you should know that it's not that accurate. Sure, you've got the torturing methods, Catholicism, and the church barbecuing anyone who opposed the Bible, but aside from a few fun facts about this is the environment in which astronomy evolved, there is not a lot of actual history attached to this anime. Even the Poland in the Catholic religion names are replaced with the P and the C word. I believe the author does this to allow for creative freedom with the story, and to avoid criticism for history inaccuracies, ahistorical figures, and the totally period inaccurate hairstyles. So he created a fictional setting based on an existing one. For example, we have Hubert, who is a character based on Copernicus. In the anime, Hubert gets barbecued because of his research. But historically speaking, Copernicus did not get executed. There was some beef between him and the church over his theory, so they considered him a heretic, and he only published his full work before his death 30 years later. However, Italian scientist Giordano Bruno was burned at the stake for teaching Copernicus' theory. So the part in the anime where people get barbecued because of research in heliocentrism is true. Maybe ignorance was a bliss after all. And as much as I'd like to sit here and keep listing every single mistake this anime makes, I'm not gonna do that. It's unnecessary. The spirit of discovery is there, and it's addicting. However, don't get into this anime expecting something like Dr. Stone. It's true that both are about science and discovery, but Orb is a +17 rated scene in anime, not a shonen like Dr. Stone. The first scene that episode 1 opens with is a man getting his jaw snapped using a torturing device called the Pier of Anguish. Free Mewing though? These torturing graphic scenes are necessary because they are essential for creating the central conflict of the series. We might take the heliocentric model for granted in modern days, but once upon a time that was a groundbreaking and daring assertion that flew in the face of common sense. So those torturing scenes are there to provide an impact. A Genshin. Even without being graphic, Hubert's melted, scarred face speaks volumes. And this doesn't stop him from continuing his research, because for him,
私は美しくない宇宙に行きたくない。
there are a lot of philosophical moments like this that embraces this romanticist idea of science. Raphael, for example, wasn't a hero like Senko from Dr. Stone, but he represented the spirit of real scientists. He understood that while he might not uncover the full complexity of heliocentrism, someone else would do that someday. His research could continue to inspire and fuel decades of discovery for those who would come after him. Driven by curiosity about the cosmos, he sacrificed his life for answers that future generations would find long after he was gone. If that's not great character writing, I don't know what is. But all of this changed when we get to episode 3. At this point in the anime, you realize that there is no main character. The main character is not a person, it's an idea. Heliocentrism. The anime follows this idea all the way while decades pass and people die trying to prove it. This is an ingeniously subversive message for a story. The characters you follow keep dying, but the message never does. I often get into arguments with others about stuff like this, especially when it comes to space. One thing that always comes up is how people argue that discovering new planets full of life doesn't matter if we can't even get there. But that kind of thinking goes against the whole spirit of science in what Raphael was trying to explain to the antagonist. It's like saying, why bother playing Valorant if you are stuck in silver forever? We might not be around to see interplanetary travel, but all the work people are putting, past, present and future, would eventually get humanity there. If it weren't for pioneers like Wright brothers, Alberto Santos Dumont or even Leonardo da Vinci, where would air travel be today? On the movement of the Earth isn't just about one person's story. It's an exciting narrative about passing the torch and playing the long game. When you combine this nuanced historical storytelling with the moody music and animation that Madhouse has brought to this production, then you get one of the standout titles in this season. It's not the easiest show to get through, nor does it offer a light-hearted experience, but it's definitely worth watching if you are into something with depth and substance. That's it for the video. Peace out.